Hey, hey. Heidi ho, campers. This video is just Astro Van bitterness. It's about Astro Van bitterness because I'm seeing this in the groups. I mention this a lot. Look, there are times when people will post in the groups on social media, in Facebook in particular, about a van that they bought. And then other people will come in and kind of crap all over it. And look, a lot of the time it's kind of deserved, right? Because people are just pointing out, hey, dude, you way overpaid for that van. Whew. Especially the camper build out versions, because a lot of the time it's just, it might come with a bunch of cool stuff, but the build is garbage. There's a school of thought where you're better off buying one that's unmolested, all factory, still original. You do it yourself, man. If you intend to want to do some sort of camper van build or some sort of custom interior like I do, mine's still evolving. I got some really neat ideas that are coming with that. It's going to change again. It's always a work in progress for me. But if you buy one that is gutted with no rust and it's all-wheel drive, you can expect to pay up a little bit for that. But I read some comments today. There's one guy in particular, and he just rubs me in a funny way because he has his very strong opinions because he's built a bunch of these things, and I just don't agree with him. And I think it's wrong for him to crap all over people on this one in particular. This lady, she spent like $8,000 on an all-wheel drive Astro van. I think it was an '04, so third generation, and $8,000. I spent $7,000 on mine 4 years ago. I'm in Los Angeles. I don't know where she's at. I guess she's on the East Coast somewhere. But depending on where you live, cars cost more. Also, the market right now with used vehicles is through the roof. Another thing, the cost of new cars is ridiculous. As you know, we are dealing with inflation. I don't think anybody's going to kid themselves about that right now, right? Cost of gas, everything is way ridiculously high compared to what it was 2-3 years ago. We all know that. We've seen it happen. To deny that fact, I can't talk to you. But that's what's happening. The other thing is as far as this one guy in particular, he made this comment where they were $3,000 4 years ago, and they're going to be $3,000 again in a couple of years. I'd bet money against that, like big money. I'd bet against that. In particular, the all-wheel drives, because the thing is that there's just no other vehicle like this. It's the footprint of a Subaru. I mean, a lot of people want to call it, this guy likes to call it a minivan. It's not really a minivan, it's more of a mid-size van. The whole chassis has got truck parts under it. It's way overbuilt compared to other minivans that were on the market at the time when this van came out. And I don't think that there's anything like it right now either. And because of what you can do to it, I mean, the whole thing was assembled with Chevy parts off the shelf from other vehicles. There's a lot of S10 commonalities between it, the Astro van and the S10. And the parts are out there, so you can keep these things going forever. And just keep looking on YouTube with all the videos coming out of people doing repairs on these trucks. So you could get to the point where almost every part of this truck, there's somebody showing you how to do it. Not all the videos are great. Not all my videos are great. I try. But I'm only here to help people. This is not a narcissistic, look at me, man. I dress like a hobo all the time. This is not, it's not a personality thing. I'm not here to feed my ego. I'm here because I want to help. Because when I was looking for stuff, I couldn't really find it. And I'm giving little tips along the way of, time savers and that sort of thing. Or I'll make a mistake in real time and you're seeing it, so you know not to make it. But all I'm saying is, if you get yourself, and again, I'm being more specific, but third gen, that's 2003, 4, 5, all-wheel drive, Astro van, little to no rust. If you could get, and it's running good, especially if you got a strong engine, figure everything else will get replaced. That, which is another point I want to make real quick. Long story short, every time you hear somebody say that, and when you're talking to them, long story short, it's going to be a long friggin' story, George. I'm not messing with George. You're not the only one. All my friends do that. It always cracks me up. But you'll see in my videos where I'm replacing all these parts. It's not because all those parts have gone bad. For me, it's preventative maintenance. for the last couple of years, with this economy, I haven't had any money. It's been very tough. And then recently I had a little bit of money, and right now I have some work. So I can spend the money on these parts now. And I'm replacing parts that I know are worn or have been there since 2004 because I want to be driving this thing all over the place, different continents, Arctic Circle. I've discussed it before. And I don't want to have to be driving around all of a sudden this part that's been in there since 2004 goes bad when I'm in the middle of nowhere. So I'm replacing it now or repairing it, whatever. I mean, I just hosed down the whole thing with Spray 9, and I hosed off the power booster for the brake and everything else because it's gunky and there's some leaks down there, and I might pull that out and rebuild it. I don't know. I got a new steering box. I'll probably put that in. I might find an aluminum radiator and pop that in there. Little things like that. So my point is if the best deal you can find is $8,000 and you really want the van and your intention is to do what I'm doing, it's not so bad. Compare that, and again, there is no comparison. You can't go out right now and buy a vehicle that fits that footprint, that's all-wheel drive, or you can easily convert to 4x4, 4 high, 4 low with a shifter and a floor with an S10 transfer case, making it far more capable. I don't know any other vehicle that can do that with the cargo capacity that this thing has. So it's just such a cool thing. It's very strange to me that the people who claim to, and I believe them, have been building these things for years and have had 8 of them or more, that they're crapping on them. They're not worth that. Why the hell have you been buying them? Just because they were cheap? But you recognized how cool they were, so you understood the value then. What was the dollar worth 10 years ago when you were doing that, 5 years ago when you were doing that, compared to now? You know, $8,000 right now is $4,000 5 years ago. I mean, that's where we're at. That's just where we're at. So making people feel bad about it is stupid. You're not doing anybody any favors. You're not doing yourself any favors. Like, on one hand, you insult people. On the other hand, you're kind of trying to help them at the same time. It's very strange. So anyhow, I'm just, like I said, I want to help as much as I can. Now, there are people out there that are trying to sell these things, cash in. They bought them. They realized, oh yeah, they're cool, but oh shit, I got to do the Hydro Boost now. What a job. Or it needs a new transmission. Or any of the other things you see me do to my van. And they go to a shop, and the shop numbers to do that work are astronomical. It's not worth it to them. They don't have the money. They shelled out, maybe they paid top dollar for the van in the first place. Now they're looking at thousands of dollars in repairs to upgrade the system or, fix it. Well, now you're fucked. Because you weren't thinking ahead. So you either have to have and I mentioned this before, a place to work, the time to work on it, the tools to do it, and the money for the parts. If you could do that, then it's, in my opinion, it's still kind of worth it. But don't buy this thing as a fad. Buy it because you see the future with it. You see what the capabilities are and you love it. If you could get one cheap and live out of it and don't really do anything to it, I'm assuming that's what a lot of these people are doing. That's why I mentioned the living out of it, the camper van thing. Another thing, really quick, because I'm noticing this on YouTube now. The van life thing's been around for a while, and I'm just seeing a lot of these young people do it, and I've been seeing newer and newer and younger people doing this, and it's not always an Astro van, but they have a real positive attitude about it. They're like, why would I pay all this money in rent when I can live out of the vehicle? And somehow that works for them. And I think that attitude is pretty wonderful. I do. And it's smart too, especially if they're actually working, because they're banking coin. So yeah, okay, you spend 5, 6, 7, 8 grand on an Astro van. A lot of people, as I've been saying, think that that's way too much money. You can't find this vehicle new. That's the thing. So let's say you buy it for 8 grand. Let's say you put 8 grand into it, or 10 grand. Let's say you put 10 grand into it. Now let's say you got $20,000 into it with what you spent on it. Over the course of a couple of years, let's say you got to dump 2 grand here, $1,000 there, $500 there, $800 there, $1,100 there, boopity 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 boop, starts adding up. Like me, I have no idea what I've put into this thing. It's $25,000 or so, right? easily. Go buy a new 4x4 van, new, for $25,000. Doesn't exist. So these are how you have to rationalize things. You have to think them out that way. And yeah, if you look at the van, because I realize I'll do these videos where I'm talking about it and I'm not showing you anything. So I was just cleaning that out in there this morning. Interior is a disaster at the moment. This is I'm working out of it. I'm keeping some tools back down here. This is all going to kind of change. I'm going to lift the level of my bed to be in line where the mattress sits at the bottom line of the window, because I am going to do a flare system on this thing. That'll give me more height underneath. And then there's going to be a cabinet that'll be built there. I'm going to lose those things. The cabinet will be removable. This is removable. They both cantilever, so I can still put 4x8 sheets of material down the middle. That whole cabinet there is going to pop out real quick. I'm going to make the door larger. That space in there is a good spot for if I want to do a battery and maybe a diesel heater if I want to. Perfect for that spot. And that piece of wood there is coming down. I'm no longer going to build that long cabinet there. Got to fill in these edges, no big deal there. And I'll probably build a box back there where that fabric is now, with speakers and that rear light. But just a look at that, because if you're just looking at me talking and you don't actually see the Astro van, you're going, dude, I'm here for the Astro van, and you're just bloviating, flapping your gums, and I don't get to see the badass Astro van. Somebody asked me how tall I was the other day. Hang on a second. Just want to show you the height of the tires in comparison to me. Even I noticed the van makes me look small because it's so high with the taller tires, but that's a 32-inch tire. So you can see at the level that this is coming into on me, right? It's coming in right about here. It's almost half my body. I'm 5'9", 69 inches tall. So, I mean, it is bizarre that the thing makes you look so tiny once you lift it and put taller tires on it. And the reason the tires might look small to some people is just because the lift is rather extreme, where I've got all this space here. That just worked out that way because I put those coilovers on, which lifted the rear end an inch. So I cranked the torsion keys, the re-index ones on this, and lifted this more. So there's about an inch of difference now, rear to front, which is what I like to have. But this is all going to keep changing. So don't get locked into the way this looks right now. It's going to change on you. But that's it for now. Don't take the criticisms from people to heart, but just be smart about it. Get underneath there, look for the leaks, look for the rust, look for gunk, look where people have sprayed over with paint on something. Just be aware of all that stuff. It's not worth putting any money into one of these things if there's rust on it. And you can still buy two-wheel drive Astro vans cheap, under $3,000. They're out there, even here in Los Angeles. And the beautiful thing about Southwest, no rust. So if you just want a two-wheel drive, you can do it. With a two-wheel, you could still do a lift. You could put a posi traction rear end in it, and you can pretty much get most places. Most of you are just going to do dirt trails anyhow. So you can do that cheaper. Have a good day. Be good to one another. Thanks again for being here. I'll catch you next time.